Thank you to every single person who has joined us on our trip so far, and thank you to all our new subscribers. We have plenty of adventures to come. If you have any specific questions, please drop me a line. I do answer each comment. I am planning a separate video about all the birds we have seen on our travels. Let me know if this would be of interest. Tracy, France, Rod and I left Zimbabwe and spent a couple of days on Kariba Dam at Lottery Bay, which is near Siavonga. Tracy and France did some sailing. France had discovered a crack in his front diff during one of his thorough investigations of his Toyota, so Tracy and France made the decision to head to Lusaka to have that fixed. Rod and I decided to continue with our trip. After a relaxing couple of days at Lottery Bay and getting our laundry done, Rod and I headed to Lusaka up the Leopard Hill. It was beautiful. The trees were coming into leaf and it was the kind of day that heralds spring. Our plan was to hit Lusaka, restock and head for South Luangwa. We spent the night at Pioneer Lodge and then headed north and east. Bearing in mind that this is Zambia and there are tracks for Africa and potholes you could sink a battleship in, so driving any distance takes forever. We spent the night at a place called Golden Springs. Wouldn't do that again. Once we crossed the Luangwa Bridge, just after the little town of Luangwa Bridge, the road improved, all the way to Chipata. At Chipata, we made the decision to press on. Our destination was Mafui and the track and trail camp. Little did we know that the road would rapidly deteriorate, but Africa is not for sissies. Track and trail is a nice place with a decent campsite and ablution, and lots to do if you can afford to take advantage of the amenities. One note, unlike most campsites in Zambia, they charge extra for wood, which at $5 a bundle is a lot. It is very close to the park entrance, which makes it easy to be in the park nice and early. We met some youngsters from the Netherlands who were taking a walking and photographic safari into South Luangwa. There are no proper maps, so we relied on the tracks Rod had planned sitting at his desk in Sandton, which worked a treat. The park is huge, so plenty to explore, but it's $75 per day for the two of us and the cruiser. It is pretty expensive. The Luangwa River, even at the height of the dry season, is broad and meanders along at its own pace. The park typically closes mid-December and reopens in May or June, depending on how much water is still around. One can clearly see the tracks the elephants make in the wet mud in the rainy season. It's really difficult to drive it on the black cotton soil in places. We spent a good deal of time driving around, but we did not see that much. Probably the height of our trip was a leopard in a tree with an antelope that would become its lunch. We stopped at a lot of pools and did some decent birding. The local baboons are golden baboons, so they have blonde hair. At one of the pools we spotted a family of immature African jacana feeding next to a hippo and hitching a ride from time to time. There are plenty of hippos and some sizable crocodiles. Clearly this is their kind of environment. Our route from South Luangwa, around 220 kilometers in total, would take us through the Luangwa National Park to our overnight campsite called Camp Konzo. I was a little bit apprehensive, but as usual, our overlander and Tracks for Africa were spot on, and it's a delightful place to spend the night.
This is a real adventure. It's not even 6 o'clock this morning yet. I haven't even brushed my teeth. We got up really quickly, made some tea and coffee, jumped in the car, and now we're about to go across the Luangwa River into North Luangwa on the pontoon. That wake you see there is the hippo. The poor man who runs the pontoon was still busy trying to brush his teeth. There we go. Now we can see the hippo. And this apparently is the pontoon. I always get so excited about pontoons. It's silly, but in my opinion, you haven't really traveled in Africa until you've had to cross a river on something a little bit dodgy.
Yeah, as well as the vehicle fee. Are you going to do again drive just for 1 day?
We've stopped for breakfast at the side of a pond. We're in the North Luangwa Park. We don't actually know if it's actually allowed to get out like this, but there's no visitor center, there's nowhere, there's no designated picnic spots or anything like this. We can see the evidence. In fact, there, somebody has made a fire here. Yeah, so we're going to sit here for a while and just see what we can see. We've got our little folding table out. It's perfect for me, but Rod doesn't quite fit under it.
So excited. We've come across a family of wild dogs in the road. I'm not certain how long they're going to stick about.
They're lying down here.
But we've got some documented proof. And if we're really, 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 really lucky, it is the time of year when we should be seeing pups, because we didn't see any wild dogs at Mana Pools, because apparently when there's pups about, the wild dogs go and hide. I don't want to open the window and film out of the window because there are a huge amount of tsetse fly around. So we're just going to quietly creep up on them and see what happens. Of course I'm looking for pups. This guy looks like he's, there they go. Lying down. This is on the transit route in North Luangwa from where we left to Tuba Camp, across the pontoon with some difficulty. And yeah, here we are on the transit road. We're in the intensive protective area, so we were signed in at a gate. We have a tracking device in the car. There you see it. And we're being timed. So we can't leave the road. Anything like that.
The intensive protection zone is to protect the more vulnerable animals, including the black rhino. The trip through North Luangwa on the transit road should take around 4 hours. There is a sign-in process and a tracking device is issued. One is warned if one deviates from the route or takes too long, the rangers will come and find you. By the way, the Tracks for Africa's Zambia self-drive book still mentions the requirement for a game scout to accompany you, but it seems that the tracking device has replaced this requirement. One may ask why the Zambian Parks Board don't build proper bridges. In fact, we did ask. The answer is that the river would just wash them away during the next rainy season. Elephants in Zambia are completely different to those in Botswana or Zimbabwe. We encountered many families, but in so many instances, if the elephants felt we were too close, they either moved on or mocked charge, which is quite a scary sight. The transit route was beautiful. We started climbing the Munshinga escarpment and encountered many streams, and fairly soon we were out of Mapani forest and back into Miombo forest. We had planned to camp at Samara Camp for one night, but once we arrived, we upgraded ourselves to a 2-night stay in a safari tent. Michael and Emmanuel were so accommodating. They did a bundle of washing and helped us clean the car. We cannot recommend it highly enough. Once we cleaned the car and had taken care of some housekeeping, we went for a walk around the area and spent some time splashing around in the Mwalesi River. It was cold but refreshing. Both the Tuba Camp and Samara Camp were funded by the Frankfurt Zoological Society, which is a major source of funding in these parks. As you can tell from Rod's drone footage, the environment is absolutely stunning. From Samara Camp, we headed to Mapika to refuel and restock. As a note, many of the fuel stations in Zambia do not accept credit cards, but we generally found that the lake fuel stations do. There are some general dealers and a couple of bakeries and a market in Mapika, but if you do need anything more than that, there is a perfectly lovely ShopRite at Kasama. France and Tracy were still in Lusaka having repairs done to their Toyota, so Roger and I decided to go hunting for the shoebills at the Bangwelu National Park. In our next video, you shall meet Hope the shoebill.